This is Stronger Than My Father with Marcus Menace.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Stronger Than My Father podcast. I am your host, Marcus Menace. Many of you may ask, why does this podcast exist? I believe that fatherhood matters, and that it's time to bring more of an awareness to fatherhood and to begin breaking the cycle of fatherlessness. This show is powered by your donations, your subscriptions, and if you like what you hear, please give me a 5-star rating. Also, you can find more podcasts on our website at strongerthanmyfather.org. So let's get into it. This is episode number 3 of my fatherhood series. I have a real good guest, a friend I've known for about a month now, financial literacy coach, and I really want to bring him on to delve into fatherhood, but also delve into why it's important, what times are going right now, to understand financial literacy. So I would like to welcome Mr. Ben Green. Welcome to the show, man.
Marcus, thank you, man. I'm excited to be on.
All right, man. Thank you for being the guest. Let's go right into fatherhood. My audience, to learn more about you, tell them a little bit where you're from, your relationship with your father, and what developed you to be Ben Green right now.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Columbia, South Carolina, although my parents met in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Okay. And I was born and raised in South Carolina. Went through all the, played football in high school, all that good stuff. I was a pretty good academician, and went to Morehouse for undergrad.
Oh, Morehouse.
Yeah, man.
Morehouse grad. All right.
Well, thankfully, I'm a Morehouse grad.
Okay.
But about 2 years into it, actually, I dropped out of school.
Okay.
Actually. And so you want, obviously you focus on the importance of mentoring.
Yeah.
I had really strong mentors in high school.
Yeah.
Who also helped me when I ran into a lot of trouble in college.
Yeah.
They actually brought me back to Morehouse, basically.
Okay.
They put me back there.
Okay.
Put me on the right path, and I finished in 4 years and graduated with honors and all that good stuff. But without great mentorship, I would not be a graduate of Morehouse College and any place else.
I feel good by saying mentors matter. Man, you put a hashtag on that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and so basically, finished up at Morehouse and then ended up spending a total of 8 years overseas in Japan. Teaching English initially, and then went back there after I got my MBA to work for a company. I spent a year in Spain, spent a year in Brazil as well, and in those instances and in all those countries, I really understood the kind of the family dynamic, because you get to see different families and different scenarios, and you understand how important everybody in the family is, not just the mother, not just the father, but also the grandmas, aunts, and the whole 9 yards. If it's Brazil, if it's Spain, and Japan, they all sort of kind of form a community. And the teachers as well, at schools. Kind of form a community around that kid to help raise kids and keep them on the right track.
Okay, one thing I want to ask is that I think you're the first guest on this my podcast that grew up with his father. Wow. How was y'all relationship, and how did that develop you to the man who you are today?
That's crazy, first of all.
Yes. I think you're the first that I can think of all the guys that I've interviewed that grew up with his father.
Wow.
And so it's a tough subject. I'm just one that's I have an undergrad in psychology, so I'm always curious of why the dad doesn't do this or why dad doesn't do that. But when you hear a story of, man, I grew up with my father, like I grew up with my dad, and we have an excellent relationship. And I knew I wouldn't be the man I am today, the father that I am, and the husband I am today without him, because I don't know any other way of how to be a dad but through my father. And so let my audience hear a little bit about your relationship with your dad.
Yeah, so and first of all, that's not normal to not grow up with your father in these other countries, right?
Well, I didn't know that.
It's not normal here.
Well, let me ask you this so the statistics I've read is that most Asians and other races have their fathers, but pretty much Latinos and Black are kind of like at the bottom. You think that's true?
Yeah, certainly. Certainly in this country. If you go to Japan, or if you go to Spain, if you go to Brazil, the fathers are typically there in the homes.
Wow.
with their kids.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. They're at least paying money.
Yeah.
So, in Brazil, for example, they're paying money to make sure their kids can be raised properly.
Oh, so,
okay. I don't know any other way because I was raised with my dad. Obviously, my dad was he was actually a disciplinarian at a high school in a public high school, and was assistant principal and everything, and was he gave us a real focus on education.
Okay.
So there was an expectation that we were going to be good in school.
Okay.
There was an expectation that we were going to participate in some sort of extracurricular activity, whether it was Latin club or playing football, doing track, or soccer, whatever it was. We were just going to be sitting around the house all day. There was an expectation that during the summertime, especially, we were going to be working. whether we were going to be working, at Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or whatever, or we actually kind of went into business with him, doing landscaping in the hot South Carolina sun, whatever it was, and even on during the regular school year, even after I would be playing football on Friday night, Saturday morning, my dad was typically getting me up about 7:30 or so, getting me out of the bed, and we were going to work.
I was gonna say, are we brothers? Because my dad did the same thing. We have the same dad. Because man, we had to get up Saturday mornings and go to work. It wasn't no sit home. And a lot of people don't believe me. I didn't really know a lot of cartoons growing up because most Saturday mornings I was working with dad. The only time we really watched TV and cartoons, and my dad would probably kill me for saying this, is probably when it rained and we didn't go to work. But if he was working on his car or truck, we had to watch him. And so I didn't mean to conceal your thunder, but I'm just sitting here thinking, did we raise with the same dad? Because on Saturday mornings we had to do that, man. So that's why I get up now. I'm up early on Saturday morning because I'm still used to my dad working me on Saturday mornings. Go ahead and steal your thunder.
So it's it's certain things are, whether you like it or not, and whether you realize it or not, certain things are ingrained in you. All right? So it's either ingrained in you to not be, not go to work, and not be used to, excelling in school, not be involved in, extracurricular activities, et cetera, or it's ingrained in you that, hey, the expectations are that you're going to go to college. Like, I didn't even know there was an option to not go to college.
Wow.
I didn't know that was an option.
Wow.
I didn't know there certainly was not an option to not get A's in all my classes. It was not an option to not go, go work during on the weekend, or, go work on the summer and during the summer. It was not an option to not behave. You know what I'm saying? Because when we, a couple of times when we were smaller and we didn't behave, we did get a little belt to the behind.
Not a little for me.
You know what I'm saying?
I got him.
And it wasn't little.
No, it wasn't little, man.
And it was memorable.
Yeah,
it was impactful. Quote unquote.
Yeah.
You didn't do it again.
No.
And so so all those things were ingrained, and what I now run an insurance brokerage firm. We serve folks in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and a couple of other states. And he did sort of ingrain in me some entrepreneurial spirit by doing the landscaping. He would kind of do some side hustles. We did janitorial services and that kind of thing. We were helping him when we were 6-7 years old with that. So he ingrained the entrepreneurial spirit in me. And then he also, probably the most important thing is he ingrained in me the fact that I was going to work.
Okay.
I was going to provide for myself, be responsible for myself. If I had a family, I was going to be responsible for them. Like I didn't know it was not an option to not, not provide for your family, provide for the kids that that basically came out of your womb.
Yep.
And then I work. I'm a pretty hard worker. Now I like to play hard. I like to party.
Yeah.
I like to enjoy myself, all that good stuff. But I work. I work hard, and he really ingrained that in me.
Let me ask you this, because it's like I'm interviewing myself, because everything you said, my dad, we have a lawn service business. We've been in business for over 30 years.
Wow.
And so I still help my dad from time to time cut grass. And he didn't really teach me entrepreneurship, but I understood. He told me when I started my nonprofit, he said, if you're going to do this business, son, do it right. Don't screw people over, do it right. And that's one thing that I took from him. I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. I never thought I'd be my own business owner. That wasn't in the cards when I came out of high school. I came out of school, I didn't really have any direction, but once my mom gave me a book to read for Sunday school, I had a gift to teach, and that's what kind of started me on this path where you see now. But I think it took that, guidance to help me where I'm at today. So now you're out of college, you're married, you're a father of 2 beautiful daughters. I think you're the first person again I've interviewed who had daughters, and I want to understand. I have 2 boys. Never was blessed with any girls. I have my brother and my sister. They have girls. What challenges are out there with today's society? What challenges are out there for you as a dad to protect your daughter? What do you have to do now more than ever to protect your daughters?
So, in my family, we have a lot of boys.
Okay.
I do have some female cousins and so forth, but I honestly, that was also something I didn't think about. I didn't even know it was, I was going to have girls. I didn't even know that was a possibility. I was like, if I do have kids, I'm sure I'm going to have boys. Yeah. So that that's basically God laughing at you, and deciding, providing an education on what you do and do not have control over. Yeah. It's been fantastic. My daughter Anna was my first. 6 years ago. That experience of a child being born is that's a divine experience, right? Mm-hmm. That's a life-changing experience. If you're a father to be and you're not going to be in the room when that's happening, you missed out. Yeah. Now I was in the room with both of mine. Yeah. You see my wife here is in the studio with us. It was a life-changing experience. I say that. I just say that it was life-changing when you see a child brought into this world. Yep. But you, as a dad, with protecting your daughters, you got to get ready for, I don't want to say men or wolves, but we men. We hunt. You see beautiful women. What do you have to do now more than ever to fight and protect your? I've asked this is probably the 6th time, but I just want to know your thoughts. What are you going to do as they grow older to continue to protect them from, I ain't gonna say bad guys, but just from guys general who could possibly do some harm to your daughters. Yep. So when my first daughter came out of the womb, it's like, all right, I've been serious about my career. Okay. Before, but it turned up the intensity as far as making sure that I can provide for my family, for my wife, for my daughter, for my family, for myself. So first thing was just making sure I could provide for them. Okay. And then making sure, of course, they get a good education. Mm-hmm. They learn how to, speak, read, write English exceptionally well, because that is a requirement to develop yourself and have a great career, and be able to provide for yourself. So those are priorities. We wanted to make sure they were in safe environments. Mm-hmm. Both in their schools and also in the community we lived in. And then wanted to make sure they were surrounded by good people. Okay. So, my mama, my dad, the brothers-in-law, the aunts, uncles, whoever it was, all good, positive people. Mm-hmm. Whether they, gone to college and they have, PhDs and all that stuff or not, want to be good, positive people that are going to put into my daughters wonderful thoughts about what their capabilities are, what they can do with themselves, what they're going to do for their lives. We try to keep people around them that provide great examples. Mm-hmm. I try to introduce them to as many female entrepreneurs as possible. Teachers, doctors, attorneys, all that good stuff, to make sure that they're being poured into all the time in very positive ways. And I think providing those examples actually is probably the best form of protection. Yep. Because when they've had all these great experiences, when some idiot comes along, popping off or whatever, or trying to take advantage of them, whatever, they're going to know how they should be treated. Yep. There we go. That's what I was looking for, because I think when you see the increase of teenage pregnancy that's going up, I always wondered, did the father protect them? I know some kids can grow up, and I get this a lot. Every child that grow up in a 2-parent home ain't always successful. Correct. I clearly know that. Correct. I think when you get of age, you're going to make some of your own decisions. But one thing my mother said on a podcast, she said that if you go outside what I taught you, I didn't teach you that.
I didn't teach you that, and you made your own bed, you sleep in it. She told my sister that when you go off to college, if you come back pregnant, you make your bed, you sleep in it. She gave her the ultimatum. When she go out to college, it's on you. And so my sister made great sound decisions. So I think that protecting your daughters is so important now. I was speaking at a middle school, and they asked me, why does my son doesn't have a cell phone? And he has a little one, my wife's old phone, it don't work. I was like, he don't need one. And it was like, well, why is he not on TikTok? Like, why do you need to be on TikTok? Right. It was like, what about his friends? His friends at home. That's what my dad trained me. His friends at home. They ain't at school. He just associates at school, but they friends at home. And that's the people that live in that house. That's who his real friends are. So he don't need TikTok. He don't need this and that. And it was like, well, you sheltering your son. You doing this. I'm like, I'm trying to protect him at all costs. And so I think what you said is great. The education, the tools. And one thing I know how kids are, they always watching their parents. They watching your interaction of you arguing, cussing each other. They watch every bit of that.
You're correct.
And then what they'll do is they'll imitate that. Mm-hmm. My youngest son, I don't know how he can imitate voices. For some reason, if my wife screams loud, he can do the same thing. I don't know how he can do that. But my dad told me, he said, watch how you treat your wife around your kids, because your kids follow watch. Because my dad didn't talk much. My dad didn't have a instruction manual on how to be a dad. All I could do is like you. I just looked at him. And I said, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. So when I get home, is cut the grass, make sure this is done, stuff like that. But I know we live in a society that's not always, guys like me and you are different. They said we like the minority of kids growing up without their father. So that's why I want to use this podcast to bring more of an awareness to say, hey, man, step up. Man, do the right things and protect your family at all costs. When we look at the shooting that happened out in Texas, where them families had to bury their child, when you send them to school, I can't protect them. And I wish I could. I wish I could sit in the classroom every day but you can't. But I think that one thing you said that was very key is that what you put in them now is what's going to help them move forward. So one thing I want to discuss, because I know we could sit on fatherhood forever, is the financial literacy piece. You're a financial advisor. One thing I want to talk about, with everything that's going on now, what do people need to do now financially in the home to try to get over this hump of the economy? Everything's going up. Gas, food, everything that's going on now. What can a family do? And then even a single mom or a single dad who could be listening to this podcast, what can we do now to start helping us understand money? Because you're going to have to save or do something, or you're going to be in trouble. What can we do now?
So first things is that this is factual. If you have two incomes, okay, you're better off. Okay. So, husband and wife, whatever it is, if you have two incomes, you're better off. If you are, if you're a single, parent, and first of all, I cannot imagine being a single dad with two kids, two young kids. That's a tough assignment. Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm blessed to have my wife along with the journey. She earns as well. She earns well, and helps with with the babysitting, helps with the changing the diapers, helps with the dishes, the laundry, all that kind of stuff. All right. So it's great to basically. So it's great to be able to have that resource. And so if you don't have that resource, if you're single or if you are, there are a whole lot of, married couples and so forth that are also struggling. The first thing you need to do is evaluate where you are in terms of your job, your career, and figure out how you can potentially increase your income. Okay. That's going to be the number one thing. So where are you working? Can you go up the ranks right there? Can you go ask your boss for a raise? Do you deserve a raise? Can you earn a raise maybe in 6 months, or negotiate? If you do some more work or take on other assignments, you need to be asking those questions. If you're an entrepreneur, then the reason I like entrepreneurship is, yes, it can be extremely difficult. Yes, sir. And, I was eating basically, pork and beans for 4 or 5 years, and and top ramen and stuff for a couple of years as I got my business going. But bottom line is, the sky's the limit in terms of your income when you're an entrepreneur, and so that's the exciting thing. And if you were if you're in that job and you're working and you're evaluating where you are, you need to come up with a strategy to either improve the income at your job, or you need to create a side hustle potentially, which has benefits of revenue, and also you can save some on your taxes as well. And then you also need to maybe figure out how you can gain some more skills. So if you if you maybe have an interest in IT, can you get some certifications? If you're working in a hair salon, can you get some certifications and maybe go work in another salon? If you're a plumber, can you become a master plumber and improve your income? Whatever you're doing, you need to figure out a way to improve your income. So that's the first thing I would say. Second thing is you need to write down what your monthly budget is. You need to take a look at your bank statements, your credit card statements, whatever it is. Every time you pull out your wallet to buy something, buy gas, whatever it is, you need to detail maybe for a couple of months, like how much you're spending and what you're spending things on, even your subscriptions to Apple or Netflix or phone,
don't touch that one, man. Don't touch the Apple or Netflix, man. Come on.
Whatever it is.
You telling the truth.
Whatever it is. You go to Starbucks once a day. Well, okay, actually that adds up. That's $150 a year, a month. You know what I mean? $1,800 a year.
Yeah.
So you need to add all that up and figure out where your money's going. So do an honest analysis of how much money you have coming in, what you can do to improve that money flow, and then an honest analysis of where your money's going. And do you have a surplus? Do you have a deficit? And then you need to come up with a strategy to to at least break even and hopefully start bringing in surpluses every month.
Well, let me just, because you killing me right now, because it's hard to give up some of the stuff that I really enjoy. I call DirecTV of like, you want to do this and that, and I know my wife like, Mark, we don't need all these channels and blah blah blah, but I want them. I want the channels, and I know we don't need them, so I need to go back because I'm used to it. And so with the gas prices going up, do you think people need to start thinking about cutting back on things? Because from your financial opinion, do you think gas is going down anytime soon, or you think it's going to stay the same, or do you think it's going to keep going up? In your honest opinion. So
for me, hope is not a strategy. So
I like that.
I would love for gas prices to go back down. They should go back down. I think oil's up to like $114 a barrel or whatever right now. It was $50 a barrel maybe a year or so ago. So ideally it will come back down, but you should plan on it not going back down. And so you should plan on all the prices staying exactly where they are. And now you need to adjust your mindset. You need to adjust your activity. You need to adjust your strategy, maybe your career, maybe your entrepreneurial ventures. You need to adjust for this higher level. And then if it does come back down, that'll just be gravy for you.
Okay. Because I was wondering, will this stuff go down? Like, now when I'm going to the store and I buy a 2-liter, it used to be $1.79, now it's $2.29. And I think sometimes these stores sneak it up on you and you ain't thinking about it.
Absolutely. And when you're running your budget, down the line, I mean, if it's, orange juice, toilet paper, whatever it is, you need to figure out if you can source it at a lower cost someplace else.
Okay.
Because, a lot of us are kind of lazy. And so we'll go buy things at the same place. We'll go get our gas the same place, et cetera. And these companies know, if you're not showing any sensitivity to the price, what's their incentive to drop the price?
That's what somebody said about gas. If people are paying $4 and something at the pump right now, why would they lower it?
Right.
If I was a business owner, I wouldn't.
Right.
I would say they can afford it. And but I think now more than ever, having that financial literacy, and I think and I want you to explain this, is that it's important to have somebody to help you with your finances. I know a lot of people are scared to tell people of, cause they scared you to tell somebody. Why it's important now more than ever for people who are struggling financially to seek a financial advisor right now, the times that's going on right now?
Even if they don't seek a financial advisor, it is important for them to start talking about money.
Okay.
Among people they trust.
Okay.
It can be their mom, their dad. It can be a good friend. It can be whoever. Financial advisors, insurance agents, et cetera. We're pretty much bound by laws.
Okay.
To not disclose information. I mean, I can get in trouble if I disclose your personal information.
Yeah.
And so it can be very good to talk with somebody objectively about what where your finances are, and and what your situation is. And even if you're broke right now, well, guess what? You're not going to become unbroke if you don't start talking about your finances and coming up with a strategy.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to talk with people in general about your finances, and specifically with someone that has some some more knowledge about insurance, about financial literacy, about retirement planning. The other really important thing is if you are a single mom, if you're if you're a married couple, with 2 kids, whatever it is, you need to make sure that if your company is offering you a retirement plan, you need to at least be getting the company match in that retirement plan, that 401k. 457, 401a, whatever it is, you need to get that match at least. If you have access to a Roth IRA through the company, or you can get one on your own actually through just a regular brokerage account, you need to take a look at that, because that money that you put in a Roth IRA, that's going to be money that will be tax free on the back end on the gains, and so that that's something you can do. And then you need to make sure you have everyone needs to make sure they have a rainy day fund.
Yeah.
Right. So if COVID happens again, if you will, and they get laid off or whatever it is, they have at least 3 months of money where they can sit and make some sound decisions instead of basically panicking and having to go out and get a horrible job, or panicking to have to borrow money and get even further behind. So those are kind of simple things that everyone can do. Do an inventory of their assets. Do an inventory of their the revenue and their expenses. Do an inventory of where they are in terms of their Roth IRAs, if they have anything through their company that's offered, and then making sure they have a rainy day fund. Those are simple things they can do to kind of get your your financial house in order.
Well, you're giving me some nuggets now. That's why I can't wait till we get to work, because I'm being in nonprofit, and I want to be sure I'm good. I want to be sure my that thing we talked about, protection. Protection is more than just being around the protection, also being able to be sure your family is financially secure. Growing up, I was thankful my dad talked to me about life insurance. But now I get my agent calls me about all kind of life insurance, and I'm like, you don't ever know you trying to get me or whatever. Right. But I think I want to be sure that I can retire comfortably and be able to travel. That's something I always wanted to do. But I know you got to start early. So, let me ask you this, because I know our time is wrapping up. Because I'm definitely going to bring you in when we do our mentoring. Why it's important for young men to understand financial literacy? How early? That's my first question. How early should young men start saving for retirement and stuff like that? So then, because I was told do it in your 20s. So by the time you this age, you're a millionaire. Those things why is that important now more than ever for young men to understand that, especially if you're going to be taking care of a family?
Yeah. I'll give you my personal example.
Okay.
So my daughters are 2 and 6 years old.
Okay.
We have life insurance on them right now.
Okay.
We have permanent life insurance on them right now that is growing. It's gaining some dividends, gaining some cash accumulation in the account. And it's not, for the death benefit. It's basically so that they can utilize that money down the line to pay for college or whatever. So the earlier the better in terms of getting life insurance and protection for your family. The other example I'll give you is a 25-year-old kid who died in a car crash, who had a baby on the way, and that baby was born basically 2 months later. That young man did not have life insurance, and so his girlfriend, who was pregnant with the child, they had the child, and there's thankfully there's a little, there's some sort of system around them, to kind of provide some resources. But basically, everyone who has responsibility for anyone needs to protect them by having proper life insurance. And then in terms of financial literacy, you can't start soon enough. So I'm teaching my daughters, about pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters. How do you gain dollars? What do things cost? I don't think you can start soon enough with that, and that's why we're actually setting up like stock accounts for them, custodial brokerage accounts for them right now with some of grandma and Mimi and all of them. They want to buy Barbie dolls and and toys and all that kind of stuff. And we've actually told them to chill out on about half of that, maybe cut that down about 75%.
Yeah,
give us the checks instead.
I like that.
We're putting that in savings, and we're now taking some of that savings and putting it into their life insurance policies and their brokerage accounts.
Hope me and my wife, hope she's here, hope she's listening. We're gonna have to do something to. We have life insurance on our boys. That carries today. I think they're 18. They can decide what they want to do with it.
Yep.
My dad told me that. He said, make sure you have it on them because I don't bash GoFundMe. I just told my wife, something happened to me, please don't let anybody set up a GoFundMe. You good. You got enough money to pay off all the bills and have some money to live. But I see that a lot. I try not to bash what people do, but I think one thing that I see a lot of people doing is not getting that life insurance. Having that is just a security blanket. I know a lot of people, I've heard people bash life insurance, saying it's a waste of time and stuff like that. But I just believe that, you never know what life can happen.
Well, let me tell you this. So
okay.
we've sent out, a couple dozen checks, all right, before for that, unfortunately, because we have thousands of clients. I've never had a client's family. I've never had a client's family send the check back.
You ain't gonna send that check back.
I've never had a client's family send a check back, and I've also never had a client's family say, you know what, he had too much life insurance.
No, I know that's right. Maybe because you need it.
That.
You need it because my agent said, hey, Mark, God forbid something happened to you.
Yeah.
We bringing the check to your wife.
Yeah.
And I make sure that bill's paid every month. Yeah. And because you just never know how life can happen. Somebody can die. I've had, a good friend of mine that died in December. Drunk driver hit him, and that affected me. Affected me real hard. But I just told my wife, what happens if something happened to you? Happened to me. But we both have life insurance on each other. I have more than her. Because I feel like I could survive financially if something happened to her, but I want to be sure her and my kids are good. That's my protection of them. So, man, I really appreciate you coming on with the financial literacy piece, man. And I want to tell my audience where they can contact you if they're needing financial advice. Give them the plug, how they can reach out to you.
Absolutely. They can reach me at ben@theiateam.com. They can give me a call on my personal cell phone. 803-509-3394. That's totally fine. Or they can hit us up on our website at theiateam.com. And always, the good thing is all of our information, all of our assistance is free. Okay. And it never hurts to get a second opinion on what's going on. And just they should think about me as like a free Johnny Cochran or something. I'm saying? I'm a free free financial analyst, free insurance analyst and financial literacy person for them to utilize. I actually volunteer my time to do that. And we all cannot be experts in everything.
Okay.
And so even for me, when I need to get property and casualty insurance for my auto and for my homes, I don't do that myself. I have an expert that I utilize to do that.
That's
and
key.
It's the same type of thing.
Well, I think you gave my audience a lot of nuggets. Gave me a lot of nuggets because I didn't think about stocks for my kids early. So me and you definitely got to talk about that because I want to make sure my boys in position to be number one, have money to do what they need to do. Let me ask you one quick question. What about saving up for college? Is that something that we should be doing now? Is that what's the best way to save? And I wanted to close out, but I've got to ask you the question. What is the best way to save for college right now?
The traditional way to save for college, and no matter how you do it, it's good that you're thinking about it.
Okay.
And then taking action on it. So that's the most important thing. The traditional way to save for college is what's called the 529 plan. All right. Or there's also what's called the Coverdell plan. The 529s are very popular, and they're basically, you take after tax money, you put it in, and then but you have to use that money as it grows. You have to use it for education.
Okay.
There's an alternative way to save for college, two ways. So for my daughters, with the stocks that I'm buying for them, basically, and I'll turn it over to them at age 18, we can utilize that money to pay for college, right? And then the second way is actually through cash accumulating whole life insurance that money that's going to be in that account is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time they're 18, 20 years old. That money, we can also utilize that money for college as well. And there are advantages to utilizing that money as well. So it's as I said, everyone cannot be an expert in everything. And so that's why for specific items, financial items, just in general for life, you need to use experts.
Well, you have the knowledge, and we got to do a lot of talking off air because I need to start preparing for my boys if they go to college, or I want to be sure if they don't want to go to college and they want to be an entrepreneurship, they have the money to do it.
And they have the flexibility.
Exactly to do it. So, man, Ben, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Saturday, because it's beautiful outside, to come in, talk about fatherhood and financial literacy. I definitely got to get you in for a part 2. Because if the economy keep doing what it's doing, I'm going to bring some more notes, because I need to start cutting back on some of my Apple products. You got me with my wife in here, and she's going to say something. We need to cut back. So
you can cut back, or you can maybe renegotiate with some of these companies actually to bring some of that stuff down.
Them cell phones, they just buy everything. I see why Jeff Bezos is rich. I see why he's rich, because that Apple's right there, and you can get on it anytime and buy something from Amazon anytime.
And last thing I'll share, people, and let's just get real, especially black people.
All right, I'll let you go there before I can fall behind you.
need to take action. You need to be strategic.
Okay.
You need to understand what an asset is and what a liability is.
Okay.
So an asset is, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, etc. Liabilities might be, that gold chain around your neck. That might be somewhat of an asset, but it may not be an appreciating asset. The rims on your car, for example, they're typically not going to be those are depreciating.
Oh heck yeah.
Assets. And maybe liabilities actually, because a lot of people rent them.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So you need to understand that, and then folks also need to think about if they're producing services, producing goods, producing nonprofits, versus if they're just consuming things. They're consuming Netflix, they're consuming stuff through Amazon, they're consuming stuff through TikTok, etc. You need to think about those things and maybe shift the asset, shift the liabilities to more assets, shift the consumption to more production.
Because I was going to ask you, how are people getting rich off of stocks, like buying Amazon stock and stuff like that? I've never understood that. And I'm like, how are people getting rich off of buying stock? So, man, we got to do a part 2 just on stocks and bonds, man, because I need to understand that on that end, because I don't have a lot of knowledge of it. So I can't wait for me to do another one-on-one just to get the knowledge. So, I'll be 46 next Sunday if God lets me live it long. And I'm looking at 20 more years from now where I'm going to be at financially. Will I be struggling, or will I be able to sit back and go get an RV and travel? That's what I really want to do, man. It's like my dream, just to travel and just get away. That's what I want to do.
You're going to have financial freedom because you're going to take full action on it.
Well, that's what I want to do. So we're going to keep going. So, hey, man, Ben, thank you so much. I can't wait to do a part 2 real soon of financial literacy. And hopefully we can have where we can take questions on the air. So thank you so much. Hey, guys, thank you so much, listeners, for another episode of Stronger Than My Father podcast. If you like what you hear today, please go to our website. And, if it's on your heart to leave a donation, please subscribe and listen to more episodes. And if you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating. You can see this episode and more episodes on our website and through YouTube at StrongerThanMyFather.org. God bless you. See you next time.